I don't hate my life, but I am frustrated with how complicated bipolar disorder makes it. I'm so frustrated with the consequences that rapidly piled up from just one manic episode. That was years ago, and yet I continue to still feel the effects of till this very day. I haven't been manic since probably late March or early April of 2022. We're now in February 2026, and the myriad of consequences I dealt with as a result of my manic episode, I'm still dealing with them. I'm still coping with the grief, the loss. I'm still dealing with the fact that a part of me died from this illness. Bipolar disorder, it's so exhausting and it's reflected in the statistics. We, on average, live 10 to 15 years less than the average person. So we have a shortened life expectancy. We take our own lives at disproportionate rates compared to the general population. Some studies estimate that it's about 1 out of every 5 people diagnosed with bipolar who take their own lives. And there were times during my mania and during the depressive episode that follows that I became perilously close to being part of that statistic. And I'm grateful that I'm still here today. I'm grateful that I'm able to be there for my mom and be able to try and make the most out of my life. But how do I do that? If you're watching this right now, I want to ask you, how do you do that? There's a quote by a battle rapper that I screenshotted many years ago, and I don't have the screenshot anymore, but it stuck with me in my head because I just adhere to it in so many ways, and it's reflected in my life in so many ways. And that is, live in the moment and do your best to enjoy this life. Now, up until I got diagnosed with bipolar, I was able to live up to that in a very high capacity. I was able to adhere to the doctrine disseminated by that message, but it's a lot easier said than done once diagnosed with bipolar. And I suspect that I had this illness for far longer than I even realized, than doctors even realized. I can't say with 100% certainty, but during high school, I displayed so many early warning signs, so many signs that I was possibly suffering from bipolar and even hypomanic episodes as early as back then. So even though I wasn't officially diagnosed till my 20s, my past is riddled with examples of me struggling, me making impulsive decisions, me acting in unpredictable ways, me acting in ways that are antithetical to my character. And I'll give you examples. My junior and senior years of high school, each year I was absent nearly 100 times. And yet I did well in my classes. It was juxtaposed to me doing well in classes. It was juxtaposed to me thriving in extracurricular activities. And when I say thriving, I mean really thriving. In 11th grade, I was on the mock trial team and we swept our division for the first time in school history. Senior year, in terms of extracurriculars, I won first place in my state for business finance in DECA. I had also won first in my district, District 7. I was the runner-up in a speech contest hosted by Lions Club of Massachusetts that began with 900 student speakers. So I won first place at the 4 levels, was runner-up at the last stage. So I've had these successful outcomes juxtaposed to me acting with impulsivity, me having these drastic shifts in mood, because I wasn't consistent in the way that I executed my preparation for these extracurriculars. I wasn't consistent in the way that I prepared and studied. I was assiduously committed to being successful, but there were days where my mood totally took me out of it. There were days where I couldn't even get out of bed. And I kind of became a laughing stock in a sense, and people would deride me and make all kinds of jokes about how frequently I was absent, and it did hurt. It harmed me incredibly. Today, I'm now dealing with something very similar. It's a similarity that's been prevalent even since my manic episode, and it's that I still have these days where I can't get out of bed. I still have these days where the depression is such a big bane of my existence that I can't devote my attention and focus on any task at hand. Give an example. I was reading daily for, well, 15 days in a row. This was a few weeks ago. And now I've gone a few weeks, almost a few weeks, without reading at all. And I do deal with a lot of financial stressors. I live in poverty with my mother. And of course, we both have health issues. She has her own. I have mine, primarily being mental health issues. It's tough. It's a challenge. How am I supposed to wake up every day, look to the world, and say, I'm going to have a great day today? I've done some interesting things, taken some steps in the right direction since my diagnosis, but I can't truly say I've had a great day since I went through mania. Since I've gone through that manic episode, I've had good days, I've had bad days, I've had terrible days. But I'm surviving. Unfortunately, I haven't had any great days. I haven't had any phenomenal days. And I do attribute that to the illness. Depression just creeps in, and it certainly doesn't help that I'm weighing in at 299 pounds right now. I was at a peak of 354, so I'm moving in the right direction, but the progress is a tedious process. It's so easy to fall out of routines. I just demonstrated that with the book example, and I do fear that I'll lose my momentum on the weight loss front at some point, at some future period. I feel like it's inevitable like that. And I know, part of me wants to say, let bygones be bygones and let the past be the past, but it's so challenging to do that. During mania, I embarrassed myself to such a high degree. I had so many shameful moments that I continue to regret to this day. I got expelled by my university, lost control of my sanity. I destroyed relationships. To this day, I haven't recovered any significant degree of social life. I don't have friends anymore. I literally do not have friends anymore. My relationships with family have been repaired, but even still, I'm not as close as I previously was, and that's hurtful. That's harmful. It takes a toll. I kind of been telling myself to just enjoy the small wins. And this is going to sound like a horrible thing to say, but I've been telling myself to enjoy the small wins because I'm not sure I'll ever have a great win again in the future. Enjoy the small wins because I don't think I'll ever have a big win in the future, ever again, based off how these past few years went. Now, what would a big win look like? A big win would look like going back to school and having straight A's. I had a small win last semester. I returned to school for the first time in 4 years. I had straight A's for the first month and a half, and then I had a hypomanic episode. Took me out of school. Medically withdrew from the bulk of my classes. So I was on pace to having a big win, and this illness robbed me of it once again. I was working a job as a shift manager, accumulating valuable experience at a pharmacy retail chain, and I only held the position for 7 months. Had I kept it for even just a year, it would have been a big win. It would have been something to bolster my resume. Putting something on your resume that you were only part of for 7 months and that you left without notice, it's not particularly fashionable. It's not advisable for many people. A big win would be me getting accepted in the law school. A big win would be losing another 50 pounds. It's just when. And in that period between then and now, what do I do? What do I say to myself to keep myself going? Yeah, I follow this quote by Calvin Coolidge ever since high school. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. But I feel like these days, as powerful as persistence can be, it's heavily complicated when you have a mental illness. It doesn't account for having a mental illness because you can be as persistent as you like, but when a mental illness is there to derail you and throw you off the tracks consistently over long periods of time in large painful ways, persistence isn't enough. It takes resilience. It takes an attitude of saying, I'm going to get back up every time I get knocked down. And quite frankly, I don't know how much longer I can do that. It's just every day is a challenge lately. And I haven't been in this dark place for super long. The point is, I'm constantly shifting between light and moderate depression. Right now, I think I'm on the cusp of hitting severe depression, intense depression, the most intense depression that I've had in a while. I want to avoid that. I don't want to lose my progress. I don't want to end my routine of walking every day. I'd like to get back on track with my reading, but it's easier said than done. I'm going to end this video, y'all. Thank you all for watching. I wish I had some more insight and actionable tips to give on this, but it's something I'm struggling with myself, so in essence, I don't have a solution to the problem I'm presently dealing with. I guess I'll end with the quote by Calvin Coolidge. Nothing in this world can take the place of the persistent. Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. I can't even talk. Yeah, it's definitely time to end this video. Peace, y'all. Love, light, and tranquility to all.